there's no greater feeling than the amount of people you help. It's one thing for me to accumulate and acquire all this wealth, but it's another thing when I'm able to take others on that journey and help them do the same thing, help them change their financial lives.
What's up, world? Welcome to Financial Freestyle here on Yahoo Finance, and I'm your host, Raul Smack. Now look, guys, no matter where you are on your financial journey, you can never stop learning, and that's why you're at the right place, because I'm talking to some of the GOATs, some of the greatest in their own fields, and they're going to be helping you learn how to get to the bag. And look, today is no different, because I'm talking to my guy, one of the GOATs in the industry, the Chris Zane, financial educator. Chris, my dog, how you living, baby?
Ross, man, I thank you so much for having me, man. I'm humbled and honored to be here and bless the audience on the day.
Well, listen, man, one, I have to always give people their flowers of people that inspire me. Chris, you came across my, call it desk, so to speak, during COVID, where people were like, oh, do you follow Chris? Do you follow Chris? And I started watching some of your stuff, and man, that was, I don't know, 5 years ago. 5 years later, you got close to 1 million followers on YouTube, bro. You are one of the, like I say, one of the premier people that not only, you know, walk the walk, but you talk the talk, and you really are helping thousands of people, right? So I know who you are, but to the audience, man, who would you say Chris Zane is?
Chris Zane, obviously, an investor. I help people invest and build wealth in the stock market. And specifically, I teach you how to trade by teaching technical analysis and proper risk management. And so to your point, Ross, man, I've been able to cultivate one of the largest organic audiences on social media, YouTube specifically as my primary platform, just teaching the technicals of the stock market so that those that once thought this was a game that they wasn't able to participate in, they could now see a pathway to how to invest, how to get involved in the stock market, how to start trying to build their financial future. And we do it in such a digestible but cool way at the same time.
You know what I love about it is because, one, there's a lot of misinformation out there, right? You get a ton of people trying to teach and don't necessarily know, right? Like, I am trained in fundamental analysis. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, right? Like, I worked on Wall Street. I was a analyst. And before I could go to sales and trading, they made me do a year research. So I was reading 10Ks and 10Qs. So I could tell you fundamentals like the back of my hand, right? But technical is a different game, right? And I love it because when you learn technical analysis coupled with a little fundamentals, nobody can take that skill set from you. So like, what would you say the first step in helping a person, one, overcome their fears, but two, really grasping and understanding technical analysis?
I tell my audience every day, the money is in the chart. And so when you look at a chart and you're 100% right, they tell me, Coach, this overwhelms me. And I tell them all the time, in month one, it will be overwhelming. But by the time you start looking at it 30 days, 90 days in, things you don't see, you will all of a sudden see. Pattern recognition, candle structure, and then more importantly, the technicals allow you to master your entries. A lot of times we're either buying high and chasing or having the fear of missing out in the market. What technical does is it takes the gamification and the gambling aspect out of investing, and it helps you have measured marks in terms of where you should enter. You said this earlier, Ross, off camera, sizing into your position, or we call it dollar cost averaging, so that you're not going all in at once. So then if there's any drawback in the market, if there's any type of pullback, you're not panicking because you didn't go in all in. You now have some dry powder left to kind of, okay, I put a couple dollars in at this level. Now it's at this level. I have some more money to deploy, and that overall helps the emotions remain in check. So then individual investors and retailers are able to see the true matriculation of their trades, of their investments, get that return on investment over time.
I love it, right? So like when I'm thinking about technical analysis, it's literally like, or better yet, when I'm thinking about reading a chart, right? It's almost like a dialogue between buyers and sellers, right? And it's another language. And so what are some of your key data points or some of your key things that you look at when it comes to setting up your chart?
As a former athlete, I played football, and I remember both football and basketball, but I remember in football learning the playbook, the X's and O's. When I see the charts, when I see candle structure, for whatever reason, my mind processes that the same way I did reading a defense or reading an offense. And so I see the candle structure and I see the patterns, which we call pattern recognition. And so we can see when there's a swing high or swing low. We can see when there's a break of support, of key and critical support levels are breaking or busting through resistance. And so all of those things help you make informed decisions. Some of my favorite indicators, Ross, is the 13 exponential moving average, the 48-day exponential moving average, and the 200-day moving average, coupled with the VWAP, the volume weighted average price. These indicators help you to kind of, people say cool things like the trend is your friend, but a lot of new investors don't understand what that means. But the market likes to ride the 20-day, and in my case, the 13-day moving average. And so depending on what direction is going, you have a clear understanding of where that trend is actually going. The trend could be your friend to the upside, but if you rock with me, the trend could be your friend when it's going down as well, which is how I teach my audience to make money in both directions. Learn how to properly hedge, learn how to properly uh, get into your plays at the right levels.
That's why I respect what you do, because obviously you're giving the real game, but it's important to understand, like, you get roughly 80+% of the people that will not do better than the S&P 500, right? So literally when I'm telling people, like, look, be a long-term investor, your money's going to just double every 7 years if you're getting 10% returns from the S&P 500. But you got them people that really like, look, I'm cool with the 10%. That's over here. Here's the money that I'm really trying to build my alpha with, and that's on the trading side. So when it comes from a risk management standpoint, right, to a person that's listening to this, who's like, you know what, I've just been a buy and hold investor. I've been scared to, one, get into trading. But like when you talk about, risk management, what percent of your portfolio is long-term versus trading? And with that trading, how are you sizing, et cetera?
As a long-term investor, I started investing 15 plus years ago. Nike, I was an athlete and I always wore Nike. And Apple, I always keep an Apple Watch on. So there was my two stocks, for example. But back in the day, Apple used to always be 124 and it would always go to 192. They never let it bust through the 200s until just 2024. But it would just go back and forth. And over the years, I used to just sit back and be like, man, well, I've seen this pattern for 5 straight years now. Okay, I now know to get in, buying my shares, investing at 124, and I got a nice runway every year on the breakout cycle to 192. Well, when I transitioned to trading, I remember 124. And like you did, Ross, with your Eli Lilly play, I bought a long dated leap at 124, anticipating what I learned from investing, that on the call option side, it would go to 192. It helped catapult my wealth. It helped grow my portfolio value much quicker than waiting on the stock appreciation when you have the hundredfoldness of the options. And so that was one thing. The risk management piece for me always comes down to using the stop loss, understanding how to lose, understanding your loss limit each day in the market, whether you're investing or trading. You want to know, okay, if I'm up 40%, 60%, or 100%, the market on average is going to go up 8 to 10%. So if I have this outsized gain, at what point am I going to manage my risk, protect my capital by locking in some of these gains? What if I miss taking profits when it's up and then the market have a sudden downturn and now all of a sudden the market is below the average cost in which I bought in at? Where am I going to either add to my position and or set my loss and reposition myself and get back in it? And so that's the kind of thing when we talk about risk management, using your stop loss, a trailing stop loss, knowing how much you're willing to lose. You have to know yourself. You have to know if you're a risk averse or not. You have to know your limit. Some people can't stomach $100 loss. Others with a higher tolerance can stomach up to $1,000 loss. It all depends on the individual. And so risk management really kind of tackles all of those things, making sure you're protecting your capital at the end of the day.
And look, I want the world to know, like, bro, you came and spoke at my Maconomics Wealth Summit this past month, man. And the amount of people that walked up and was like, hey, coach, I got a gift for you, coach. I'm so grateful for you, right? Like, you legitimately have a cult following, but more importantly, you've touched millions of people. So one, my hat's off to you. What would you say is the best part of that?
It's one thing for me to accumulate and acquire all this wealth, but it's another thing when I'm able to take others on that journey and help them do the same thing, help them change their financial lives, help them pay off debt, pay off their house. I have so many individual testimonies from people that has done some phenomenal things just through learning how to invest in the stock market and then ultimately learning how to trade. And so when people can see it in real life and see people really running up to you in airports and different cities and countries you may be in, telling you just simply thank you. Man, you changed my life. Man, you helped my mom get out of debt, or you helped my mom pay off her house. Or after a divorce, man, your videos helped me bounce back. And so, man, that's what it's all about for me.
Without a doubt. Look, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, man, we're going to have more with Chris Zane. And he's going to teach you how to start trading, maybe even tomorrow. All right, guys, welcome back to Financial Freestyle here on Yahoo Finance. And we're talking to Chris Zane, financial educator. Now, Chris, obviously you got a big following. Obviously, these people follow you for a reason. So what would you say is your single best trade that you've made, and how much did you make on it?
Most recently, I got two for you, Ross. I had a Palantir play, and the ticker symbol on Palantir is PLTR. On that particular play, I think I made 327,000 on Palantir. And then I had one more recent than that, which was Netflix. And I knew that they were going to, this was prior to earnings, so this was a couple months ago, but I knew they were going to run up to $1,000. They end up going to $1,200, but I was in it at 700, and I'll go pretty heavy in terms of my size. And so I had 150,000 on that particular recent play. So again, that's another thing. I go heavy in my plays because the technicals give me confidence that I'm making a good decision. It's a low risk, high reward because of the technical aspect.
I love it, man. So now, right, we got to get some game, because the average person sitting at home, or better yet, right, we're in a new world where that's why I respect you, because there was a time where there was a lot of misinformation, people coming in, Robinhood came in, making trading gamified, people blowing up their portfolio, right? The average person blows up their account over trading, right, or not knowing what they're doing. So to a person that's listening, let's get in some game. If they coming in right now with $1,000, fully trying to trade, what are the technicals they need, and what is the research they need to do outside of just subscribing to Chris Zane? Because you should do that too.
Absolutely. If you're coming in with at least $1,000, and you don't even need that much, guys, I don't want you to be deterred thinking, I don't got 1,000. You can do this with even $250. Check this out. What you want to do, you need to first identify a stock in which you want to make money with. Number two, you need to see how much volume and liquidity it has. That simply means how well that it moves in the market during the first 2 hours of the day. Okay, so on the East Coast, market opens at 9:30. So from 9:30 to around noon, you need to make sure that it has some actual movement. Movement is how you make the money. No matter the direction, it needs to be, Ross said this to you guys earlier, you need to have some buyers and some sellers involved in that particular play. So for example, you can choose something like Tesla, Nvidia, and Palantir because they have movement, versus Coca-Cola and Pepsi may not move. So be very, very distinct on what you choose in terms of volume and momentum. From there, okay, you would need to pick a expiration date. That is a time period in which you think and believe that your particular asset that you choose can hit that price target within that window of time. So Ross has a play with Eli Lilly out to January 2027. I don't care how long it take it to bubble up. He's going to hit it out the park because the number one thing he did in his particular example, he gave himself time. That is your best friend in this game. Time is our greatest asset as investors. Time is also your greatest asset as a trader. So don't come into the game gambling, trying to get rich quick. That is not what we do. Okay. Don't come into the game thinking without knowing and what you're doing and having an understanding that you're going to just hop right in and all of a sudden make a boatload of money. You need the time so that you can see the fluctuation, how high a play went, where you could have got in at, where a better entry may be, and more importantly, where you can add to your position at. If you do those three things, you can increase your win rate potential on every trade out, even if you're new and starting with $1,000.
You know what I loved? You said the first thing was you got to, find your stock,
Yep.
right? Like there are people every day that wake up and they're trying to chase something, right? If you're just new to Netflix, right? And I tell people like, look, you might be good at LA Fitness, but it's a different game when you step on the court and you're trying to play with LeBron James, right? Meaning the same traders from Fidelity, BlackRock, PIMCO, you name it, right? Any top asset manager in the world, they're trading all Netflix, right? The same people that are
Yep.
trading, Palantir, they're trading that every day, right? And so I say that to say, I love that you say you got to start with your stocks. So curious, do you have like how many stocks do you have on your watch list, and do you use screeners? Kind of what's your your day-to-day looking like when it comes to finding
Everything you said, that's you hit it out the park, Ross. Everything you said is how I trade. I don't use stock screeners. Guys, stock screeners, although helpful, you get caught up in chasing the next hot stock versus focusing on one. And we call it a horse. Find your horse. And so for me, I every Friday night after at market close, I identify the stock at the end of the day so I can see the weekly movement in it that I want to trade for the upcoming week. And so
Mm.
I will say, okay, boom, market just closed. These three stocks that was on my watch list, I keep three on my watch list to answer that question. Out of the three, this one has the best chart set up going into next week. So Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm going to study that one stock so that Monday morning I hit the ground running. Therefore, my focus ain't all over the place. When people see, I have this thing, Ross, I make 30,000 every day within 2 hours. Typically it's 11 minutes, 7 minutes, 15 minutes, but it's not that's so impressive. I've been studying it since market close on Friday, all day Saturday and Sunday. So Monday, I done ran every scenario in my head. If I see a gap up in pre-market, I already know what I'm looking for. If I see a gap down, now I'm just looking at, do I need to abandon a call option, which is the thought that we think is going to go up, and potentially do a put. But whatever it is, I have a if this, then that scenario already in play. I have it all mapped out in my head or on paper. I keep all of these notes every single day to know this is my plan of action. We don't play. It's not a game. We take it very, very serious to the point where we can render these results not only for myself, but for others, because they end up adopting that same style in which we lead with every day.
I will be honest, right? I was a late bloomer to trading, right? I've been investing since 2008, right? I've been investing in great companies since 2008, right?
Get it right.
2012, I bought Facebook, right? I was an investor, but the trading is a new realm, right? And you're seeing that, you get these new products, 0-day expiration contracts, etc. So it's a new world, but when done correctly, it could for sure amplify and build true alpha for your portfolio. And it's something that I don't take lightly, right? I love the ability to, I'm in some nice little calls and you look up and you up 400-500% in 3 months. And it's like, you don't see that often.
That's a 4X on your money. And you're so right, Ross. What got me into trading, I'm like you, man. I was a long-term investor, and that's what I am at my core. But after buy and hold, after year 5, you looking like, man,
Exactly.
I'm pretty stable. Like let me dip my toe. Let me take a couple dollars and at least see what this trading thing is about. And once I did it, Ross, I have my investments on this side. They're not touched. They're sitting in Vanguard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have my trading, a specific amount of money that I allocated for trading so I can afford to lose it. But I'm trying to grow it. And you said this and you said it perfect. Trading helps supercharge your wealth. It helps you get a 400% on something that over here on the investment side might have only been 80% over the course of so much time. Okay. And so that was the thing that did it for me. I had my investments solidified. I was just looking for something extra to do and fell in love quickly with the challenge that trading presented.
And so with this knowledge, right, and more importantly, the fact that you kind of talk about it on YouTube and actually have built a following, one thing I always find is like, it's one thing to have a big following, but not a lot of people know how to master that and more importantly, monetize that following, right? So with 1 million, subscribers on YouTube and obviously other, other mediums of having followers, like how have you found a way to truly monetize that?
Man, first, I built a level of trust among people. I showed that I was consistent and reliable. Number two, I got everyday people real results. And when you can turn the average person and get them to believe and let them see that it's possible for themselves, whether they make $100 a day or $400 a day, eventually they're going to spread the word for you. But on top of spreading the word, even when they brought new people in, I still showed up with the same level of consistency, integrity every single day. The other thing, Ross, I'm not charging and I'm not putting my information behind a paywall. So I'm giving Harvard level education for free every day on YouTube versus the individual that might have a course that costs $5,000. No, you can get that on my free daily video. So then the community wanted something more intimate. So we started a Patreon to just grab those that was hyper focused and serious. And to date, we have over 40,000 paid members inside of our Patreon, paying anywhere from $10 to $100 every single month.
Like I say, man, I'm always inspired and I love what you do. But man, I just want to thank you for coming on, Chris. Like I say, you inspire a lot of people. So what you do is amazing. And more importantly, you're sharing the wealth in more ways than one. But that's it for this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like, subscribe, make sure you're here next week.